Hi, I'm Rick Swartz with the Bloomfield-Garfield Corporation. Why don't we get started? I think it'd be good for everybody who was on the call to identify themselves. So maybe we can go around and just ask people just name and what your affiliation is, or if you're just a neighbor to the property. So Nina introduced herself. Nina works for the BGC. She's a community planning and engagement specialist with us. AJ, do you want to identify yourself?
Yeah, I'm AJ Monsma. I live on Warble and Allure Way, so right down the alleyway from the property. And then I work at Garfield Community Farm, which is right across Cornwall.
Okay, we have Alan Dunn on the call. Alan? If you're there.
Hi, everyone. Yeah, Alan Dunn, architect for the developer.
Okay, thank you. We've got Brighton Cook.
Hi, yep, Brighton Cook, and I am part of the development team on the project.
Okay, so you're with Split Rock Real Estate, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
Yep.
All right, we have Chris R on the computer. Chris?
Yeah, Chris R and Chris, we're the same one. I just have it up on my big screen, so in case I need to zoom in for anything. But my name is Chris Richardson. I work for Hampton Technical, and I am part of the design team for the civil aspect of the portion of the job.
Okay. Joanne Monroe?
Unmute Joanne.
Good
Did you
evening,
identify
everyone.
yourself, Joanne? I didn't quite hear
Joanne
that.
Monroe, Executive Director of Garfield Jubilee and neighbor to the project.
Thank you, Joanne. John Kamen?
Good evening, and thanks to Bloomfield-Garfield and Rick and his team for hosting us tonight. My name is John Kamen. I am counsel to Split Rock Real Estate Partners.
Okay, thank you, John. We have Mary Clark.
You're muted, Mary.
Mary Wilson Clark. I am the property next door to where the development is taking place.
Thank you. Philip Wu.
Hi, everyone. I'm Philip Wu. I'm the neighborhood planner with the city of Pittsburgh, and my planning area includes Garfield.
Okay, thank you, Philip. Robert Oppenheim.
Hello, listening in, one of the developers.
Okay. And we're getting close to the end here. Rochelle Jackson. Are you muted, Rochelle? Okay, doesn't seem we have Rochelle ready or able to talk with us. We have someone on the call, Elizabeth. Hello? Elizabeth, are you there? All right, moving right along. I saw Bob Jones, Jr. We're asking everybody just to briefly identify themselves, Bob.
Oh, hello, everyone. I'm Bob Jones with Brothers and Sisters Emerging.
Thank you, Bob. We have Gary Sorincione.
Hi, I'm Gary Sorincione. I'm with Garfield Land Trust.
Okay. Is there anybody that I have failed to introduce or would like to introduce themselves now? I'll give you a few moments here. Just jump on the call. Okay. If not, let's get started. We're having a second meeting tonight about a project that's been proposed for the 500 block of North Aiken Avenue here in Garfield. This development was the subject of a conference call last month that was hosted by the city of Pittsburgh under what's called a development activities meeting. And everybody who was on that call had an opportunity to learn more about the project from Brighton Cook and from Alan Dunn. So to put it in a brief snapshot, it is a 4-unit single-family housing development that would be built on subdivided parcels, newly subdivided parcels in the 500 block of North Aiken. The developer is Split Rock Real Estate Partners, and they have acquired the property, and they have also done some significant engineering work and the filling in of subsurface voids that probably relate back to the late 19th, early 20th century when Garfield was the scene for some deep pit coal mining. So the filling in of these voids was done to help stabilize the soil on which they're going to be building these 4 homes. We saw some diagrams for how these houses would look in terms of their exteriors and the interior floor plans. We noted that these houses will have their main entries off of the alley behind the homes, Elora Way, and that that will be in essence where the driveways are into the homes, and the backs of the homes would actually face North Aiken Avenue.
Hello, everybody. I'm late.
What was that? Did somebody say something?
Hey, Rick. Sorry. It's Robert. Sorry I'm late.
Robert, you want to just identify yourself, Robert?
Robert Harris, neighbor.
Okay. Thank you. So after the presentation was made by Split Rock, they took comments from the people on the call who are largely neighbors of the proposed development. There are a few people who are on the call who are not immediate neighbors who work for community organizations like the BGC. And in this case tonight, Garfield Jubilee Association, although Joanne Monroe lives, I believe, in the 600 block of North Aiken, right across Black Street.
700 block.
Right, so she's actually a neighbor as well. So with that said, after the meeting that we had and the comments that were taken by the city and by the developer from the neighbors, I did get a call subsequently from Brighton Cook asking basically what the consensus was from the neighbors about the project. And we chatted in about a 30-minute phone conversation, and I expressed to her that there were people who were not in favor of the project, who were opposed to it for varying reasons. And I gave her a few of those reasons as to why. And this is a project that is going to need, at least in its original concept, two variances, if I'm not mistaken. One variance is for the lot area requirements that normally accompany the construction of a single family home, like the one that's being proposed. So the developer purchased 3 lots, and I believe is intending to subdivide them into 4. And in doing so, they do not meet the lot area requirement that is set by the city zoning code. Now that may change tonight, depending on what changes have been made to the project's design. I believe the other requirement referred to the interior lot setback requirements, whereby the structure for each home, at least on one side of the home, is going to be within the setback that's normally required by the city. So the developer was seeking relief from the city on that setback requirement. I'll pause there for a moment, and if I've misstated anything, perhaps either Alan or Brighton or even John, as the attorney for the developer, can weigh in and correct me where I may have misspoken.
So Rick, this is John Kamen for those of you who don't have your camera on, and counsel for the developer. At this point, I think you've accurately stated the discussion from the last meeting, and we've taken that feedback and are coming back this evening to present some changes to the plan that we think address some of those concerns.
Okay. Does anybody have any questions? Anybody who is from the neighborhood who is new to the call tonight? This is your first call. Are there any more
Yes,
details?
Robert, I have a question.
Sure.
Hey, so going back to John, nice to meet you. What was, why'd they bring you in on this? You weren't here last time. What has changed?
Well, I feel like everybody's entitled to representation. So I think they took some of the feedback that came, and I don't know, Robert, that we've met, but we do a lot of land use and zoning work in the city. And I think the client felt that they could benefit from some of my time and expertise.
Okay. Any other questions in terms
Okay,
of?
for now, I'll take that for now.
Okay. Any other questions in terms of what we've already been presented on this project?
Rick, I have a
The
question.
first call.
I have a question, my first call. So there's 4 units, 4 houses. Are they 2 bedrooms, 3 bedrooms, and the cost of each, sales price of each house? In square footage.
Alan or Brighton, you want to just answer that question for Ms. Monroe? Either one.
Yeah, the houses will be 3 bedrooms and they're going to be in the high 400s.
And Rick, we do have a presentation that we can walk through that will probably address some of these questions and probably create more. So if you want, I'm happy to share my screen and walk through it if after you're done with the preliminary questions.
Sure.
I have one more question. Are there any subsidies, or these are market rate and above market rate houses?
Everything's market rate.
Okay, I see we've been joined by Cindy on the call. Cindy, do you want to identify yourself for us?
She told me she couldn't hear on her end.
Okay, I got it. I'm Cindy Hawthorne.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Can you hear me?
Cindy. Yes, we can hear you.
Okay.
And you're a neighbor of the project?
522 North Aiken Avenue.
Okay.
She's connected to me.
All right.
Next to me.
And me is Renee Foreman. You want
Yes.
to identify yourself?
I'm Renee Foreman. I'm at 520 North Aiken Avenue. And Cindy and I are connected neighbors.
Okay. All right. So I think we're ready now to let the developer go ahead and make the presentation that they've prepared for tonight. Let's let them get through the entire presentation. And if you've got questions, please be jotting them down as the developer goes through that presentation. And then we'll have all those questions addressed once the presentation is done. So John Kamen, it's your floor.
Rick, are you okay if I share my screen?
Yes. Nina, do we need to give him screen sharing ability?
I think looks like I have permission to do it.
Okay.
But let me just, if you wouldn't mind confirming that you can see, that would be great.
Yes.
Yes.
Great.
You're up on the screen.
Excellent. So this is a picture of the prior building that existed there, you know, what we would call the pre-existing condition, so to speak. I'll go to the next slide. This is the pre-existing conditions plan. And what this shows is essentially 3 tax parcels, albeit 4 lots, that exist, the front on North Aiken. And the first one is the one that had the house on it that you could see from the prior picture. Then there are 2 lots that have been combined that are the internal tax parcel. And then there is the lot that is on the edge that is its own separate tax parcel. So just wanted to show you that the condition as it exists now is essentially 3 separate tax parcels that exist in what was originally 4 lots. Next slide. This is again a look at the buildings that existed prior to demolition. The first one on the left side of your screen is the southwesterly view along North Aiken. And the one on the right side of your screen is the opposite side of the street. For frame of reference, you can see the house next door, and you can also see the truck that is parked at this point on Cornwall Street. This is another view sort of looking down Cornwall at the intersection of Cornwall and Aloria Way, looking west. And then here on this side is, again, a sort of countervailing view at the intersection of Cornwall and Elora, looking north. This is a picture of the existing site conditions. What you can see as we look now, the structure has been removed and the demolition has happened along the lots that the affiliate of my client owned. And then here's again another sort of panoramic view, larger view of the existing conditions as they exist after demolition on the site.
I'm sorry, I must ask a question while you have that up. This is Robert. I live on that property right there. You
right
see
here,
that
Robert,
tree?
can you see my cursor?
Yes, to the left.
Okay.
Left.
It's right on my screen. Maybe.
Okay, you're right, my left. Okay, so you see the shed.
The shed here, Robert, is that what you're talking about?
Correct.
Okay.
Okay. What are we going to do about these trees? Are these trees a part of our property or your property?
Well, let me get through because there's a survey here that may help you, Robert.
Yeah,
Okay.
let's hold those questions,
Okay.
okay, until he's done.
Well, I believe it helped for us to see it.
Okay.
Let me go to the next slide and maybe that will help you a little bit. So this is a revised site plan that shows our new proposed layout. And what you can see is that we're talking 4 units again. But what we've done is we have gone ahead and with the units that are on either of the ends, they will remain as single family detached units. And the 2 internal units will be single family attached units, or what we would colloquially refer to as a duplex. By doing it and setting it up this way, we are not subdividing the lots and therefore meet the lot area requirement for each of the lots that are to be built upon. In addition to that, we have gone ahead and on the internal lot, which has these 2 units on it, we meet the internal setbacks that are required under the zoning code for this zoning district. We also meet the front yards and the rear yards. So the only thing that's left for us is the detached single family construction that is happening on what is technically lot 1 in the plan and lot 4 in the plan. And we believe that because those are existing lots and we're not changing those lots, that we would be entitled to develop them as of right as a single family house pursuant to the zoning code, and would only have to go ahead and provide the 5-foot setback off of Cornwall Street and the 5-foot setback off of the adjoining tax parcel that exists to the north. I don't know if you can see where my cursor is, but this parcel here. What you
I
can
see it. I'm sorry. What is the setback?
So hold on, Robert, let me get through. There are essentially 4 setbacks. There are the front yard setback, which in this zoning district is a requirement of 15 feet. There is a rear yard setback, which in this zoning district is a requirement of 15 feet. There's a minimum exterior side yard. So that is essentially, if it were on a corner, that would be 15 feet. And then there's a minimum interior side yards of 5 feet. Now, because we're not changing the lot lines on this, the zoning code provides that any lot that existed prior to the adoption of the code has the ability to have a single family house built on it. These lots were originally platted in the Robert Hayes Plan of Lot, which was recorded in the Allegheny County Recorder of Deeds office on June 30th of 1891. That predates all zoning in the city and actually predates the existence of zoning, which is, depending on how you look at it, generally referred to now as 58, though there were some codes that were adopted by the city in the 20s. So what we're talking about doing by building these units that are detached on what I would call the northerly and southerly lots, and then building 2 attached units in the internal lots, we've created essentially what is as of right development on the internals, and we believe as of right on the north and the south. The next slide shows.
Okay, wait, before you go back. So you're saying that's your legal right because of the ownership of the previous owner?
No, I'm saying that's our legal right under the zoning code because of the way the lots were laid out.
So what did the history of the ownership have to do with anything?
The history of the ownership in the way that it was recorded establishes our rights because of the recorded plan predating the zoning.
Right, that's what I just said.
Yes.
Okay. Where are you going with this?
I'm not going anywhere with it. That's just, I'm just re-explaining our revised plan so we don't have to go and seek the zoning relief that Brighton and the team have previously talked about before.
Okay, well, any legal right can be disputed. So I just want to know why you're bringing this up. I mean, we're looking for different answers to questions you're not giving us.
Well, Robert, I think what John's trying to say is that with this reconfigured site plan, they no longer need the zoning variances for the middle 2 houses that they're proposing to build, that they meet all the terms and conditions the city would set for building these 2 houses. The houses at the top and at the bottom, which are detached, will require a variance for the side yard, for the interior side yard setback. And I think possibly for the rear setback as well, John, is that true?
It's not required for the rear, Rick. It would be just the interior, but potentially the front yard on Cornwall as well, if that were looked at as a front yard. But
right.
I think that would probably most likely be looked at as a side yard, but either way, it's the same number. But the point that I was making is part of the redesign of the plan is that because of the city's provision in the zoning code, that any single family lot that existed prior to the adoption of zoning can be developed as a single family house. We believe we've reduced the number of variances, but this plan that we would provide as part of our request to the zoning board is essentially an as of right plan because of the existence of the lots which are not being changed.
Okay, I understand. I get it. Point well made.
All right. John, is that your entire presentation?
It's not. There are a couple more slides I'd like to show if that's okay, Rick.
All right.
So last time we showed, and I believe there was a question again this evening about what we're looking to do for the floor plans. I think these are pretty much similar to what we showed last time. I think there may be some minor differences because, you know, 2 of the units will be attached. And again, that is permitted in this zoning district, but I think at least right now, conceptually, the layout of those units would be the same, with the exception of perhaps the sharing of a party wall. And then this is a proposed rendering of the development. This is again illustrative. There's a lot of work to be done now on materials and the way that things would actually set up. I think what the reason why I wanted to show this, and it's nice to have so many folks from the neighborhood here, is that one of the real challenges is the change of grade. So we wanted you to be able to see that part of the reason that we're set back from North Aiken, which is similar to the way the neighbors are, is because you have significant grade change. And this slide actually shows it a little bit better. As Rick mentioned, there was significant subsurface and soils work that had to take place as well there because of the historic undermining that you know, predated all of us and probably predated you know, Garfield's existence as it exists now, that, you know, turn of the century mining type stuff. So that's what we had to show. I'm happy to answer any questions. I'm not sure to answer Robert's question about the tree. I think these are new trees that are being shown here as to whether that tree is on your survey or not, or on your property or not, but
I'm sorry, what do you consider new?
Well, the trees that are shown in these circles here would be newly planted trees. So this is not a picture of existing trees on this survey. These would be planted as part of the development as after we were done constructing the houses. So I don't think I can tell looking at this whether or not the trees.
So those are trees to be planted, not trees that are actually there.
That's correct.
Okay.
Happy to answer questions that anybody may have at this point. And I'm happy also to flip back to any of the slides that we mentioned tonight. I think this is probably the easiest one to look at, but.
Nice. Okay, so you obviously put some thought into this. Your direction is a little off. You're going with the legalities of your right to do these things. I get it. But however, our issues were a little bit greater. We were talking about, for example, traffic. 4 houses in that area is going to require a lot more parking, I think, for starters. A wider or lower way. And I can't help but to wonder if the plan in the future was maybe not to purchase the property on the other side of a lower way, so that initially you guys could kind of look at each other, right? For the prior site plan.
So
I guess my question is how is this going to be neighbor friendly for me, for my mother, for Aunt Cook, right? For everybody around this neighborhood? How are we going to adapt to this? And how can you help?
Well, from a single family or from a traffic standpoint, your single family houses are about as minimal impact of any development that you would have. And the level of intensity within a development district is set by the zoning. And what we're talking about doing here is essentially 4 houses that come off of a public way. And with that way being 20 feet, which is what is the requirement of the city, we have a right to go ahead and to come off of that. I think you know that along North Aiken,
as the property owner, you have a right to do whatever you want to do. But how does that affect the community?
Well, Robert, I don't know that. I mean, I think the community will be benefited by improvements. We've already spent some time and energy and thought and money fixing up the undermining that existed on the front of these lots. I think the new construction in the community will bring 4 units for home ownership. is good to build roots in the community and strengthen the community. And, you know, in terms of the right to do what we need to do, that's what zoning's about. And what we're doing, we believe we have a right to do.
Okay, other questions from other folks on the call?
One of the concerns brought up on the last meeting, I think Mary first brought it up, was that the residences were not going to be facing Aiken. And it looks like from this new plan that the front doors will be facing Aiken. So I wanted you to talk about that, since that was one of the things that was brought up as a concern, so that you could address that.
Sure. Alan, would you mind taking that?
Unless Brighton would prefer discussing it.
I can jump in. So it's not actually the front door to the space, it's a back door, but we're trying to kind of brainstorm some ideas of how to, make some nice landscaping so that whoever is outside, it is facing Aiken. But unfortunately, we couldn't have that be the front door due to the, the elevation and the slope of getting from Aiken, because it's quite a far distance. I don't remember off the top of my head, but I want to say maybe 30 or 40 feet. So in order for that to be somebody's front door, we'd have to do an easement of a sidewalk across that entire length, or you'd have to build staircases from Aiken up to that back door, which was cost prohibitive at this point.
So
I'd like to add that we are also treating the rear door in the manner to look as if it is a front door with a canopy.
Yes.
So that it'll relate more naturally to the streetscape.
Mary, are you still on the call?
Yeah, so the purpose of your new pictures to show us was just to let us know that you purchased the property, you're going to develop it the way you want to develop it, because these drawings haven't changed any from the last ones that you showed us, except that you're going to do a duplex in the middle and 2 single families on the end. And you're still not giving the community or the neighborhood any subsidized housing. And you brought your attorney so you could lay out that this is what we're doing. And we could care less actually what the community says, because we purchased it and this is our right and this is what we're going to do, which is one of the problems with most of these new developers coming up in the Garfield anyway, coming up into a neighborhood, a poor neighborhood, Black neighborhood, however you want to put it, to bring your developments up here because it's a central part of the city. So that's actually what you called us into this meeting for with Bloomfield-Garfield, is to let us know that you figured out a way to
get around the variance.
Do what you want to do.
Yep.
I have a
That's
question.
what this meeting is really about, which puts us on a defensive. If there any kind of way that we could stop you, we need to find that way, because you're the developers that we don't want in this community.
And I heard the person say to Robert that this development will benefit the community. And I'm trying to figure out how is it going to benefit the community. I see nothing affordable house for sale for anybody in the community. So how is it benefiting community? By some landscaping, some new houses that nobody in the community would be able to purchase?
Well, I think we have, so let me address both of those comments. First of all, in terms of affordable housing or subsidized housing, there's a lot that has to be done to make that work, and it doesn't work on a 4-unit project. You need scale, you need tax credits, you need time, you need all of those other items, and that's not what can really be done on a 4-unit project. I'm sorry, that's just the reality of it. Even if we were to apply for tax credits or subsidies, you wouldn't be awarded it on this type of a project because it's just simply too small. In terms of development of the community and benefits to the community, again, we're bringing new owners. You're bringing, these are for sale units that will be there. So you're going to have new homeowners placing roots in Garfield. And what we're doing is again, an as of right development. So I appreciate that it may not be exactly what you want, but it's what we're entitled to do.
It's what you're entitled to. It's nothing that we want.
I have to disagree with that because for 4-unit housing for sale, you can get subsidy. And Rick knows, and I know because we have done development before. I don't think you look for it to try to get subsidies. And it doesn't have to be money from the tax credit. It could be other ways you can get subsidies. And then bringing new homeowners in a community. Well, there's nobody in our community will be able to afford homes for sale. So who are these new homeowners? Are they going to be African-American homeowners?
I don't, Joanne, so we can agree to disagree on the subsidies. I do a lot of housing work and I'm telling you, it wouldn't work for this type of project. So I don't want to argue with you about it. I understand you have an opinion. I have an opinion on it too.
Yeah, I'm just saying
we don't know.
Well, let me finish.
Sure.
I'm just saying that we have done housing development for over 30 years, Bloomfield-Garfield and Garfield Jubilee. And subsidies do work on this type of development. That's why the way that the community was revitalized because of 2 community groups, Garfield Jubilee and Bloomfield-Garfield. And that enabled you guys to come in to do development. We made it a way for you guys to be able to come to continue to revitalize the community without input from the community.
So Joanne, there are different opportunities for a community development corporation or for a nonprofit that exists that are very different from the opportunities that exist for a developer who is not that. And again, I don't want to argue with you about it. I understand, and I'm certainly familiar with the track record of both organizations. And I actually, have watched the neighborhood for the last 30 years. My aunt was on Atlantic. So, I know a lot about the neighborhood and I appreciate what you're saying. And yes, it is changing. But again, from a standpoint of how this is, what we're proposing, it's not going to work as a subsidized housing model for us.
Well, I'm saying initially, if you would have came into to the community group, Bloomfield-Garfield, perhaps there could have been a way that the groups could have helped you get subsidy. But just to come in and just say, I'm going to do development and then meet with us afterwards, I think that's the wrong way to do it.
And I'm agree, and I'm gonna step in just real quick, and I want to say this one thing. I think we're pretty much past a lot of decision making. Probably when the property was sold itself. We need to come up with new solutions for everybody to coexist. Since you're here, you're obviously here. You're not going anywhere, right? So how do we proceed in making this a situation where it's not your right to do all of this, but you would like some input so that you can do what you want to do in a manner that is suitable for all of us over the next, 20, 30, 40, 100 years? How long do you plan on being here? My house has been here for 200 years so far. I believe I have earned the respect of figuring out a better neighborhood while you move in and declare all of your rights to do such. Because we have to live together, one way or the other. Correct?
I agree.
So how do we do that? Nobody is happy. How do we do that? And I turn it over pretty much to Aunt Cook. I know you've been waiting to speak.
I just have concerns, just like the other neighbors too, of what this is gonna look like, new residents being here, and how it's gonna affect our community. And again, you know, one of my concerns was the tax base, and how that's gonna affect us. Those are my, you know, and just how the neighborhood in general is gonna just be changed.
Can you elaborate on the tax base question? I'm not sure I understand that.
Well, you know, what I was thinking is that we have these newer houses in the community, and a lot of times based on the houses around you, your taxes are affected and will go up.
So,
And that's a concern.
Right, so I can address that at least from a process standpoint, how that works. So what will happen is once we've constructed the houses, we have to apply for a certificate of occupancy. When we get the certificate of occupancy from the county, that triggers the assessment that's being placed on the properties by the county assessment office. They place that assessment on these properties. They do not go out, and nor are they legally entitled to go out and reassess all the properties in the neighborhood or on the street. That's what you call a spot assessment, and that's prohibited by Pennsylvania law. So what we're building here should not change the assessment on any existing house, because the only thing that would be reassessed as part of this is the new houses that were being constructed. Now, if the county agrees to do a county-wide reassessment like they did in 2012 and back in 2002, you know, then I can't speak to how the computer will look at it then or not look at it then. But in terms of changes now,
I'm sorry, wait, can you briefly speculate? I'm interested to know your opinion. Briefly speculate on that. What could it be?
well, it's a really complicated system, because what they do in a countywide reassessment is every property is not just ranked on location, but every property is ranked on grade of construction and condition. So there are multiple factors that go into what they call the CAMA appraisal, which is a computer aided mass appraisal. There are multiple factors that go into that adjust for the conditions of the home, the conditions of the property, the grade of the construction, the age of construction, those types of things. So that's how you can end up with properties that are, you know, next door to each other, having sort of very different values because of the way that the inputs are put into the system by the appraisal office. So I don't even want to speculate on that, because if I could figure that out, how that works,
because I would have to demolish everything and rebuild to keep up with you.
No, but that's not the way that it's done. Each property, if you go to the county assessment website, you'll see that each property has its own grade, its own condition, its own level of construction. In fact, if you want, I can share one with you. Hold on one second.
Other questions for John?
I'm just going to share. One second here. Okay, so let me just share this with you, if you don't mind. Okay, so can you see this picture now? So I heard somebody say that they lived at 522 North Aiken, which is right across the street.
That's my house, Cindy Hawthorne.
Okay, Cindy. So this is the first page of the county assessment page. And what you'll see is this is the page where they go ahead and they have information about when you purchased the house, the deed book volume, the lot area, et cetera, and your block and lot. If you go to the second page, so this page just lists some of the factors that the county uses through its computer-aided mass appraisal system in valuing a property. So you see there's a use code, there's a style, stories, year built, then there's a code for exterior finish, code for roof type, and then there's a listing of the total rooms, bedrooms, et cetera. But if you go over to the far column here, you'll see there are also what they call subjective codes that they put in, which impact how a individual piece of property is valued. And that deals with grade, condition, living area, and then there's a whole list of other factors that they use. So the point of saying this is that there'll be no change in the short term because they're not allowed to spot assess you. But they're also, as they go through and do the next reassessment, whether that's 2024 or 2026 or whenever it is, these are all factors that the computer-aided mass appraisal system takes into account in terms of valuing the property. So realize that was probably a long answer to the question, but that's why I can say I don't know what will happen, but you're not going to be valued as if you're new like we are.
Okay, but our taxes will still go up because of the new construction, correct?
I don't know that that's true. Your own taxes will not go up until such point as there's a countywide reassessment.
Right. So at this point, we're at when, but nobody can predict the future. So we don't know when it will happen, but it will happen.
Well, so statutorily, it has to happen every time that there's disparities in the assessment system that happens. But some of these counties.
Do we know when the last time that was? Sorry, excuse me.
Yeah, so the last time we had one was 2012, and then before that was 2002, and then before that it was probably 20 years. The only reason why it happened in 2002 is the county got sued, and that court order compelled the reassessment.
So do we all need to start taking financial courses in order to deal with the 20-year circumstance that's going to happen? How much could our tax increase?
I don't think your taxes necessarily will increase because it all depends on the way that the actual property is graded through this list of factors. And again, there are dozens of factors that are used in the system.
Robert, if I can just kind of chime in here. I think the point John's trying to make as far as whether your taxes are going to go up or not, the county will always evaluate your house compared to other houses of similar architecture, similar size, similar age, and other factors. The county will not compare your house to these homes because it would be comparing apples to oranges. And even if they got it wrong and tried to raise your assessment to a level that would be equal to the new homes, you would be entitled to appeal that decision and try to argue the point that you're comparing apples to oranges when you assess my house the same as these 4 homes. So I think,
as an attorney, are there any benefits to that? Maybe I want you to compare apples to oranges.
well, I think, rather than continue to belabor this point, all I can tell you, Robert, is that if indeed you were to sell your house and a person were to buy that house in an arm's length transaction, whatever that sales price turns out to be, the assessment on your house will be close to that sales price number in the end, because the county will assume that that was a sales price that was arrived at without any undue bias or influence. So I think everybody on the call tonight needs to evaluate this project on its own merits and not be worried that if it does get built, your assessment will automatically rise.
And that's
John's
why
not
all
in a
the
position-
and Jerome
Yeah.
didn't get a
John's
$2
not in
million
a position to tell
evaluation.
you either way.
Yeah.
Okay, John, I have a question for you on the two houses in the middle.
Yes,
These will be for sale units, correct?
yes.
All right, so all are for sale, but because these two sit on the same parcel, how would title be conveyed if indeed they're on the same parcel? Is this like a condominium
Yeah,
setup?
so Rick, so we would either subdivide it after construction to create two conforming parcels, which we could do, or we would go ahead and set it up as a condominium and convey it out. Either way, there would be a declaration that was recorded that would provide for, you know, maintenance of the roofs or party walls, anything that was shared on that amongst the owners.
I understand. Thank you.
Yep.
All right, others on the call who haven't had a chance to speak yet and to put a question to John or even a comment?
I have a question. Is this all private financing?
Yes.
Okay. Other questions from those of you who haven't spoken yet?
Okay, let me get this right. To my understanding, nothing's changed. So the back of the houses are going to still be facing us.
Yeah, but I
Aiken.
think as you heard, and as you saw from the elevations, they've taken some steps now to make the back of the house look much more compatible with what you might see on a street, you know, either in Garfield or in a adjoining neighborhood. So they're trying to at least allow the unit to relate a little better to North Aiken Avenue than just putting a blank wall on the back of the house.
And
So they
look,
just put a canopy.
right, as we finalize these renderings and push forward, we're certainly going to want to make it relate to the streetscape and have it be as attractive as it possibly can be. That's beneficial to us and it's beneficial to the whole neighborhood. So I think, you know, we're early on this, but it's certainly something we'll work on to make it work.
All right, so is everybody clear now on how the changes to the project have affected what it is the developers are going to need in the way of approvals from the city?
What approvals? They won't need any approvals, will they?
They'll still need the variance on the interior, on the side yard setback for the bottom house and the top house.
Right, but that's correct, Rick. I mean, I don't think we're going to need the right, you're correct. It's a, depending on how they look at it, maybe a front yard on Cornwall, but essentially, yes.
So
But we think,
Yeah,
we think based on what we're doing, that because these lots pre-exist, that we have a right to put a single family on.
As far as the front yard and side yard question, zoning administrator usually looks at it based on
Where the door is.
where the door is, correct? Yeah.
Right.
that's Philip Wu, for those of you who don't know.
And by the way, Philip Wu is everywhere. I've been to a bunch of damn meetings and Philip is he seems like he has every community. So thank you, Philip, for your time tonight. I know you're working overtime for this.
Only 7 neighborhoods actually, but
just 7.
a lot of development
Philip
going on.
Wu, can
Okay.
you tell us
Okay,
how?
wait, we're not done yet. We got a couple more questions here.
Philip Wu, can you tell us how the alley, the traffic, how that's going to affect the traffic in the back alleyway, which is Allure?
Yeah, I know that alleyway is
Way.
not in very good.
Isn't that
good
going to be
condition.
very congested, or will they be able to buy the other property on the other side of Allure Way? Will that be extended? Because
I
you know
don't believe.
that's all vacant land back there.
Well, let's be honest and upfront about it. Are you guys going to buy the property on the other side of Valora?
That property is owned by the city of Pittsburgh or the URA. I can't remember which, and I don't believe it's for sale.
The city of Pittsburgh, 'cause I've tried to get it.
So I think
AJ,
any
Wait, AJ, say that again.
I said it's owned by the city of Pittsburgh because I've asked about it to buy it.
Yeah, I mean, we don't have any plans to go ahead and to buy it, and if it's owned by the city or the URA, as she just said, you know, there's a whole process that has to happen on that before anybody can buy it.
But we're just trying to see how we get you out of the neighborhood. That's all I'm trying to see, is to stop you from building anything else, because you are not, your company is not a community-friendly development. And as I said before, you're the development contractors that we don't want in the neighborhood. And if there's anything that we can do to keep you out of the neighborhood from here on in, that would be a goal that I myself would take on.
I mean, I'm sure we can petition, there's a number of ways. I'm positive. We might not be successful, but we'll interrupt all of that.
Well,
how do we not have to go there?
All I can tell you,
I need you to appease my mother, who is your neighbor, in some way, shape, or fashion. When I said could, initially, now listen, it's very important. Initially, when I said you could help the community, I meant it. You could. And what you're hearing, the adverse reaction, is people saying, what about me? You're coming up in here, changing everything that we've done in one way for hundreds of years. You're leaving everybody out. And all I need you to do is to figure out a way to include the community that you're building in. So we don't have to go through all of that. You understand?
well, what I understand that I'm hearing is threats. What I understand that I'm hearing is not particularly welcoming. And
well, that's because you're a lawyer.
Listen,
if they would have had you on here day one, you would understand, because then you would have met me. And we would have to talk about this.
Robert, here's what I can tell you. If there are things that you think we can do that are helpful and that will go ahead.
As your neighbor, of course, but how come you're the first one asking?
Well, Robert, I'm asking.
After all of this time, you are asking, and I appreciate that. But that is not finality. That is not the end.
All right, let him speak.
What I'm saying is, if there are things that you think we can do.
Yeah, respect my mother and her property.
Robert, you can't keep interrupting.
Please.
But if there are things that we can do, if it's talks about landscaping or this talk about making the backs look more like the fronts, if there are things like that that we can do, we're happy to entertain those suggestions. And that's actually the purpose of this meeting, is to go ahead and get the input on how things can be better. But if the answer is we're going to try and stick it to you at every step of the way, and we're going to petition you, that's a very different discussion than the discussion we were hoping to have. I respect either position
that you came across as. You came across as that.
Well, I'm sorry if I came across that way, but what I'm telling you is it's a very different position to say.
I understand that. And my whole point was just saying, I know.
Okay.
Understand that I know. And what I'm offering to you is a different path, a different relationship.
Well,
but you need to, you guys need to, look, you need to come out of your shell and you need to come and talk to us. Y'all been talking a whole lot over the internet and via this and via that. But for real, I only saw Robbie twice. I've never met his assistant, whoever she is or whatever. And this is the first time I've seen you face to face, and I actually think I know you. What you said about your mama in Atlantic sinks.
If you turn on your camera, I could tell you real quick if I knew you.
I look a mess. Heck no.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, I look like I look, but there's nothing I can do about it. So,
All right.
Well, again, you asked us, what did we ask? We were asking for subsidies that you're not willing to do. And we asked for the property that is facing the alleyway, which I still don't understand because that's going to congest that alleyway. It seems like some kind of way you're going to have to get more space. The alley's not that big. And that was blown off. So to keep the property facing Aiken is what we thought you were redeveloping, whereas it was looked like you were at least trying to include the neighborhood. The way it's set up is like you're trying to not even look at the neighborhood because of the way the design is.
so the setback that we have there is based on the grade, which I know everybody is familiar with in terms of what's there. And it actually is similar to the way the homes are set back on the other side of the street. They're not on they don't front on Aiken either. Same reason.
But their address is Aiken.
Well,
Your address is going to be a lower way.
Well, I could probably make it an Aiken address, but that's up to the addressing people at the city.
John, I have to ask, have you been up here to look? Have you been up here on the property?
I haven't been there since Sunday.
Why do you come and knock on my door, man?
I didn't know you, Robert.
Well, I'm your neighbor.
All right, we're trying to get through this.
Well, this is my point, Mom. This is my point. That's my point.
All right, so perhaps John will take Robert up on his offer to come visit.
Right.
All right, any other questions or concerns before we thank the developers for coming tonight, and then we can talk amongst ourselves again?
Rick, the only thing I would ask, if you don't mind, is I don't know if you compile a list of emails of who's on this call or not, but we're happy to, and maybe just facilitate through you, as we adjust the renderings and as we develop, we're happy to come share more and to get some input on that. So I don't know if it's probably best to have you as the point on that, but if you want to just put together a list afterwards of who's on the call and participated, that would be helpful for us.
Okay. I think we'll see how people feel after the call, whether they want us to continue facilitating the dialogue or whether people would like to talk with you directly.
Okay.
You don't have to go through the Bloomfield-Garfield Corporation to have that conversation.
Okay, just wanted to put it out there. Thank you.
Sure, I appreciate it. All right, anybody else? If not, we're gonna thank Alan and Brighton, John and Robbie for being on the call tonight. And we'll excuse you from the remainder of the discussion and talk just amongst the neighbors and the community groups. So thank you.
Thank you. Just real quick, I do want to thank Philip again for his participation.
All righty. Thanks, folks.
Bye, everybody. Have a nice night.
Good night.
Thanks, Naima.